Is coal dead? Surging demand trumps recent push and China's dominance say otherwise. Coal's death was exaggerated. I'm not quite dead yet. You've heard me always say that great Monty Python line was exaggerated as demand surges. Trump backs clean coal and China dominates while the UK clings to net zero despite energy realities. And we see the doubling down in the EU and the UK. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up. My name's Stuart Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. This is a wild podcast today. Buckle up. We got some news stories for you. New natural gas pipes and LNG terminals shake up Texas, Louisiana, Gulf Coast. This is from RBN Energy. Hats off to them for having an outstanding website and stories. Beijing looks to put the brakes on the sale of the Hutchison Ports. This brings up the question, if China can stop the sale of a Hong Kong owned port in Panama, that means China can stop traffic in the Panama Canal. That's something for you to think about. Let's go to the next story. Repealing the EPA's 2000 endangerment findings could easily end costly climate regulations and energy mandates. This is a huge story. New House bill acts as renewable fuel standard over eco harm and higher gas prices. Got a lot going on in this one. Is coal dead? Surging demand trumps recent push and China's dominance say otherwise. And then this last story I find very interesting. Tokyo Gas to buy U.S. shale gas from Chevron, and you can look at the map where it is, and that's some pretty interesting acreage that they're looking at in different counties in the U.S. So anyway, let's take a look here at new natural gas pipelines and LNG terminals shake up the U.S., Texas, Louisiana, Gulf Coast from RBN Energy. This is really outstanding. I like the folks over there at RBN Energy and recommend following them. You can take a look at this. This amount of these 6 pipelines that are coming in the Eagleford and Haynesville, Permian gas production exceeds 21 BCF per day in the Haynesville and Eagleford are poised to increase their output, and new pipelines and pipeline expansion from production to the Gulf Coast along the coast are in the works, including the 2.5 BCF per day Blackcomb pipeline in that red line in the map on the article. Outstanding. And then you take a look at the Corpus Christi LNG Stage 3 and the Golden Pass, Sabine Pass, Rio Grande LNG, Browns Fort, and Port Arthur LNG. All of these and extra pipelines are coming on. This is incredibly important, especially when you take a look at how natural gas is playing out in the ERCOT and in the other power plants in the area. Again, I've taken a look at how the ERCOT plan for power plants coming into online, what they have, and their projected demand. And ERCOT is looking like they've got it under control for the next 5 years if they stay on their targets. Not the way with the rest of the United States. So this is a very important way to look at this. And this article really does do a great job. You're going to see data centers very much like the one in Abilene, Texas. I drove by it the other day, and it is a huge facility with their natural gas power plant. And I've talked to Steve Reese. I'm going to be talking to him in person, and we're going to be covering a lot of this, but there are massive data centers and they are all needing natural gas. So take a look at where pipelines are in the United States, and that's going to be where you're going to take a look at putting in a new power plant to help do the AI data centers. Anyway, outstanding, and you can take a look at how all the plays play out. Great job. Let's take a look at this next story. Beijing looks to put the brakes on the sale for the Hutchison Ports. I also saw this article not only just on X, but from a Muse on X. The quote is, President Trump has once again been proven correct. Panama claimed that Hong Kong-based company CK Hutchison, which operates two of the ports at either end of the Panama Canal, was free from Chinese influence despite Trump's assertion to the contrary. Now we're kind of seeing that China is stopping BlackRock from being able to buy them. This is going to be critical in the next few days as we sit here and we take a look at today is the second, and it is a really huge day finding out that at the time I'm recording this podcast, Israel has already notified that they have removed all of their tariffs on the United States. And I'm very impressed with that. I also did not know how much they were tariffing in the United States. So this is a wake up call, and I want everybody to understand that China may have to practice their Scooby Doo. And rut row in Chinese is really rut row. So I think that'll be a pretty fun one when we say take a look at this. The decision last month by the La King control conglomerate to sell 80% of the Hutchison Ports for $22 billion is pretty important. And especially when you consider that President Trump has honestly spoken, and he is right on this, that the Panama Canal is not only national security, it's energy security, and we need to have control of that. And nobody's even talking about the other canal that Mexico has been quietly building over all these years. And so that one is going on, and it's going to be a real problem. So President Trump, hats off on doing that. And you've got to get control of our shipbuilding. And I know you're working on it, but I'm going to keep reminding you of that. So we got to get rolling on that. Let's go to the next story here. And I love Lee Zeldin, and he is doing great things over there. But we need Congress to man up and absolutely repeal the 2009 Endangerment Finding, could end costly climate regs and mandates. We need to get this really codified in law. The 2009 Endangerment Finding ignored the key realities. Its repeal could end climate regulations, energy policy, and the green agenda. We need to make sure that energy is delivered to the lowest kilowatt per hour to everyone on the planet and have it have the least amount of impact on the environment. In order to do that, we need to make sure that they are fiscally responsible and they obey the laws of physics. So when you sit back and go, fiscally responsible, best for the environment, let's let the free markets decide and make sure that everybody buys the lowest cost energy that they can. Even higher anxiety is bantering climate activists as EPA Lee Zeldin reviews the agency's 2009 endangerment findings. Quote, the foundation and justification and restrictive Obama and Biden era standards and regulations on permissible electricity generation, automobiles, furnaces, home appliances, and much more. And a redefinition of CO2, which plants kind of like, and it may be considered plant food, but it's the plastic, it's the particulate matter, it's all the other things that we've got to scrub and keep out of the air that matters. And that still needs to be contributing to air pollution and watched. But how it's defined has been criminal. So let's go to the next story here. New House bill axes renewable fuel standard over eco harm and higher gas prices. Representative Scott Perry bill aims to abolish the RFS, arguing it harms the environment and raises gas prices and doesn't reduce our reliance on foreign oil. Republican out of Pennsylvania, Scott Perry, on Friday proposed legislation that would abolish the Renewable Fuel Standard RFS, relieving as not only harm the environment and raise gas prices, but it would be a vital step in preserving those essential jobs and reducing inflationary pressures. It was intended to foster the use of environmentally friendly fuels, the environmental benefits of ethanol, particularly in replacing gasoline, are highly questionable. This is huge. And if we phase it out, the Heritage Foundation has noted how the use of corn based ethanol and gasoline has only raised feed prices for cattle and poultry farmers and diverts valuable farmland from other agricultural purposes. This is critical as we try to wean ourselves and grow more of our own food rather than import it in from other places. Let's make American agriculture sing again and be great. This is absolutely a wonderful bill. We are going to keep you guys on it and see if it can go through the House. And if it is a phased in approach so that we can get the farmers subsidies to get them weaned over to new crops, I'm all in. But it does more harm to your engines and the environment, and it costs more energy to produce than you get out of it. And it means absolutely no good for the environment. Let's go to the next story here. And before I get into this story, I want to give Steve Reese a shout out. I'm looking forward to my next podcast with him. He and the Reese Energy Consulting Group are sponsors of the Daily Energy Standup, and it is pretty exciting having them in our back pocket. We are going to be talking about the AI and the natural gas power plants that he is really looking and he's helping consult with. It is in a huge demand, and I am bullish on natural gas in the United States. Last year, we again are the number one exporters of LNG, and more demand from natural gas is going to be needed. So I think this is absolutely phenomenal. And even the EIA under President Biden has said one of the key reasons we have reduced the amount of pollutants and CO2 in the environment is because of natural gas power plants. So let's go to this story. Is coal dead? Surging demand trumps recent push and China's dominance say otherwise. Coal's death was exaggerated. I'm not quite dead yet. You've heard me always say that great Monty Python line was exaggerated as demand surges. Trump backs clean coal and China dominates while the UK clings to net zero despite energy realities. And we see the doubling down in the EU and the UK. And I think that you're going to double down on stupid. And I think Forrest Gump was actually the Forrest Gump quote: as stupid is, as stupid does. The latest twist in this tale of the death exaggerated starts with a Guardian story on Monday last week and his trip last week. The UK Secretary of State for the Energy Secretary and Net Zero, Ed Miliband, is hoping to shape a new global and axis in favor of climate action along with China, developing countries to counter Donald Trump's abandonment of green policies in the U.S. What people don't understand is that the abandonment of green energy policies does not mean that the U.S. is going to be polluting anymore. It means that the U.S. is going to be delivering lower cost energy and they're going to be manufacturing more. We're not going to be offshoring our pollution to China. We are going to be controlling our pollution in the United States. You won't see a problem in the United States. The world will be a cleaner place if things are manufactured in the United States as opposed to having no filters and all the coal pollution you want in China. The Great Wall of China does not just keep the coal pollution and the smog in China, it spreads around the world. So you're going to see a cleaner world based off the great energy policies by our Secretary Wright and Doug Burgum helping out, as well as Lee Zeldin. So outstanding job there. Great article. Let's also take a look at Tokyo Gas buys U.S. shale from stake in Chevron. I found this is pretty interesting. TG Natural Resources, in which Tokyo Gas America has 93% in a unit of Castrol Commodities and International holds the rest, has closed on a transaction to purchase 70% interest in East Texas gas assets from a unit from Chevron. Tokyo Gas said the deal is in exchange for $75 million paid in cash and $450 million paid as a capital to carry the fund development in the Haynesville formation for a couple years. This is pretty exciting when you sit back and take a look. Foreign investment in our oil and gas is not necessarily a bad thing. That's not like having foreign countries buy our farmland and start throwing up pot plants and pulling it out of growing agriculture. That's a whole different animal. Tokyo Gas noted that its group vision by 2030 emphasizes its transformation in the LNG value chain. This is a quote: by streamlining its U.S. shale gas operations and further development of its natural gas and LNG value chain, including expanding its LNG trading business, Tokyo Gas will contribute to stable energy supply in Japan and other countries. This is huge, and especially on days when we're working out the tariffs and everything else with what President Trump is going on. This is just another example of the trillions of dollars coming into the United States thanks to the President Trump and his excitement going around the world. So with that, like, subshare, go to energynewsbeat.co. We have got a lot of traffic on that site. It is doing phenomenal. I want to let you know that as I take a look at that site, I see who's reading the articles, where they're located around the world, and I like to see who's reading what types of articles. And I also take a look at the denial of service requests that we are getting pounded on every day, and our firewall company is holding true, and they're sitting there kind of laughing, going, you must be telling the truth out there. So, with that, like, subscribe, share, and have an absolutely wonderful day. Also, go to the energynewsbeat.substack.com. Thanks and have a great day.